can feel it. These are not separate issues. These are not random. This is not just one drag queen story hour. This is not just one broken bail law. This is not just one violent teenager. This is not just one angry parent at a protest. This is a pattern, and the pattern always moves in the same direction. Destroy the family, confuse the child, shame the man, weaken discipline, protect the criminal, silence the parent. Then they call it progress.
This is a societal wrecking ball to destroy any semblance of normality, any semblance of basic human biology. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it right now. I can't handle it more.
Story time at a Brooklyn public library prompting a protest this morning, and it's who is reading to those children is what parents are upset about.
We have a drag queen, which is a man dressed as a woman, coming to read to children, not about Cat in the Hat, about gender fluidity.
Why can't we just leave kids be kids, have people with their clothes on who are just focused on reading the book rather than all of this provocative theatre?
The world right now. Wow. This is what the Matrix calls progress. You just watched it. Adults in costumes reading gender ideology to children who cannot even tie their own shoes. Parents protesting because they do not want adult confusion pushed into kindergartens, libraries, daycare centers, and classrooms. Media panels acting shocked that ordinary people still have a line they will not let strangers cross. Then you saw the other side of the collapse. Crime in the streets, violent offenders, home invasions, machetes, stolen cars, weak bail laws, a justice system that tells families to stay calm while criminals walk free. And if you're paying attention, you can feel it. These are not separate issues. These are not random. This is not just one drag queen story hour. This is not just one broken bail law. This is not just one violent teenager. This is not just one angry parent at a protest. This is a pattern, and the pattern always moves in the same direction. Destroy the family, confuse the child, shame the man, weaken discipline, protect the criminal, silence the parent. Then they call it progress. And then there is one word they worked overtime to poison, a word that once meant responsibility, protection, discipline, duty, sacrifice. That word was masculinity. Now you say that in the wrong room and watch what happens. You are toxic, you are insecure, you are dangerous. You are the problem. Society has taken everything strong and called it dangerous. It has taken everything weak and called it progress.
They already have their rights, but they don't have a right to take my tax dollars and impose their doctrines on little kids and get them all confused and screwed up. The kids are all messed up.
We're not trying to pull people to be drag queens. There's some things that I would never perform for a child.
We are told the traditional family, a man who leads, a woman who nurtures, and children who respect both is some outdated prison. We are told biology is negotiable. We are told common sense must kneel before ideology. We are told reality itself must be rewritten to protect people's feelings, and if your eyes tell you otherwise, the Matrix says you are the problem. Trust the slogan, trust the institute, trust the screen. Do not trust your instincts. Do not trust your family. Do not trust what every civilization before us understood. Children need structure, men and women are different, and society without discipline becomes chaos. But look around. Does this look like progress? More anxiety, more medication, more crime, more broken homes, more confusion, more children raised by screens, strangers, and state-approved ideology. More young men walking around ashamed of the very instincts that once made them useful, protective, dangerous, and strong. They call this progress. But if this is progress, why does everything feel like it's falling apart? And this is where the conversation gets uncomfortable. Because when parents question adult themes being pushed into children's spaces, drag story time, gender ideology, pronouns, identity politics, they are not speaking from hate. They are speaking from instinct. The instinct to protect the innocence, the instinct to say, why is my child being exposed to adult confusion before they can even understand the world? I'm not asking adults what they want to call themselves. I'm asking why children are being dragged into it. Why does a 5-year-old need to be introduced to gender ideology before they are taught courage, discipline, manners, respect, and consequences? That is the question they do not want asked, because the machine does not debate, it smears. It does not answer parents, it brands them bigot, hateful, far right, dangerous. That is not tolerance, that is control. Adults can live how they want, but children are not political props. Children are not experiments. Children are not blank canvases for every ideology that comes through the education system. And when people are generally struggling with identity, depression, anxiety, confusion, or distress, the answer should be serious care, real help, real honesty, real boundaries, not slogans, not costumes, not social pressure, and definitely not turning complex adult identity issues into entertainment for children. But the ideology does not want boundaries. It wants access to schools, access to media, access to children's entertainment, access to daycare, access to story time. They do not want tolerance. They want submission, because tolerance means adults can live how they want. Submission means your children must be taught to repeat it, celebrate it, and never question it. That is not compassion. That is social engineering.
The dad and daughter are the latest victims of Melbourne's crime crisis, forced to fend off 3 thugs attempting to steal their car in broad daylight.
A brazen group of teens are on the run after targeting multiple properties in Brisbane's south side, even breaking into one home twice over 2 nights. The youth offenders can be seen breaking in through the fly screen and then opening the door before taking just about everything in sight.
But this collapse is bigger than gender. It's bigger than drag queens. It is bigger than one issue. It's about authority. It's about who still has the power to say no. It's about discipline. We have created a society where discipline is treated like abuse, weakness is treated like virtue, and every child is told their feelings are more important than reality. You cannot smack your child. You cannot raise your voice. You cannot be too firm. Every bad behavior becomes a teachable moment. Every tantrum must be validated. Every boundary must be explained, softened, negotiated, and emotionally unpacked. And what has this produced? Children who believe consequences are optional. Teenagers who believe authority is oppression. Adults who collapse the second life tells them no. A society that cannot discipline children will eventually beg police to discipline teenagers. You remove authority from the home, then act shocked when chaos arrives in the streets. You cannot raise a generation with no consequences and then complain when they behave like consequences do not exist.
Machetes, baseball bats, firearms used. In one stage, the guy with the machete accidentally hits his mate with a baseball bat. What makes all of this a lot worse is that a young, innocent family are inside, including 2 young children, and this was a case of mistaken identity.
Meanwhile, here in Melbourne, we are told we have the toughest bail laws in the country. We are told justice is being served. We are told the system is working. But a kid with a machete can invade your home, threaten your family, steal your car, and be back out before you have even finished giving your statement to police. And if you defend your home, if you protect your wife, your children, your property, suddenly you are the one being questioned. The system lectures the protector and excuses the predator. That is the matrix. I'm told masculinity is toxic. I'm told the traditional male role is obsolete. But a second a door gets kicked in at 2 a.m., nobody wants a theory, nobody wants a hashtag, nobody wants a social worker. They want a man. They want the exact thing they spent decades trying to shame out of him. They want male strength when danger arrives, but male silence when society is comfortable. They call masculinity toxic until danger kicks the door in. That is not equality. That is a lie. A lie the Matrix has been feeding us for decades. And today, we're going to talk about the conversation we are not allowed to have. This channel, Urban Undertones, is about seeing what is happening under the surface. Today, we are talking about the war on masculinity, the death of discipline, the corruption of childhood, and why all of it is connected. Let us start with the foundation they want you to ignore: biology. Men and women are different. This is not hatred. This is not fear. This is not extremism. This is reality. We differ in our bodies, our wiring, our instincts, our strengths, our natural roles. We are not interchangeable. And that is not a flaw, that is the design. And it is starting with the youngest, most impressionable minds. Because if you can confuse the child, you can control the adult. And what is the result of this grand experiment? Look at the children. You do not need a research institute to tell you what every honest parent can already see. Children are more anxious, more medicated, more confused, more disconnected, more fragile. The data is only catching up to what common sense already knew. Something has gone terribly wrong. We gave children more screens, more labels, more therapy languages, more freedom, more validation, more ideology, and less structure. And somehow they are more anxious, more depressed, and more lost. This is not progress. That is collapse with a marketing department. And yet people say, but Thomas, women do not need to be at home. Daycare is just as good. No, it's not the same. A child knows the difference between being managed and being mothered. A daycare center can supervise a child, a mother forms a child. A system can watch behavior, a mother sees the soul. And no institution on earth is more emotionally invested in a child than a committed mother. That is not an insult to women, that is an acknowledgement of their power. Motherhood is not oppression, it is power. A society that convinces women motherhood is beneath them has not liberated women, it has robbed children, because the most important job in the world was never to be in an office, it was in the home. Now let's talk about the discipline. Because the same culture that tells you biology is fluid also tells you firm discipline damages children. The modern gentle parenting movement often shuns punishment and focuses on validating feelings, but feelings without boundaries becomes entitlement, and entitlement without consequences becomes destruction. Millions of Australians were smacked as children. Most did not become criminals. They became workers, parents, business owners, soldiers, builders, truck drivers, taxpayers. They learned there were lines. They learned authority mattered. They learned actions had consequences. I was smacked as a child. My parents did not abuse me, they disciplined me. There's a difference. Abuse is uncontrolled anger, discipline is controlled correction, and the knowledge that if I crossed a serious line, I'd be held accountable. That healthy fear built respect. But we have thrown the baby out with the bathwater. We have created a culture where parents are scared to discipline their own children. Teachers report chaos in classrooms. Parents are afraid to say no. Children are treated like emotional CEOs of the household, and when the family loses authority, the state fills that vacuum in schools, in daycare, in the courts. When fathers disappear, the state becomes dad. This is where it connects direct to crime. When researchers looked at youth offenders in Australia, what did they find? Chaos at home. No structure, no supervision. Only 16% were living with both parents. That is not a small detail. That is the whole story hiding in plain sight. Because children do not raise themselves. Screens do not raise children. Courts do not raise children. Bail reform does not raise children. Strong homes raise children. These kids were not raised in strong, stable, disciplined homes. They were living chaotic lives where crime became normal because no consistent authority stopped the slide. And when strong homes disappear, the streets become the father. So, you have a culture that tells men masculinity is toxic, undermines the father, weakens discipline, confuses children, and releases violent offenders back onto the streets within hours. Then people act shocked when the streets feel like a war zone. In Melbourne, we were promised the toughest bail laws in the country.
It was one of 4 arrested over a stolen Audi, but tonight all of them are free, on bail and back on the street.
A stolen car abandoned on one of the busiest roads in Melbourne's east has rolled backwards, smashing into street signs, trees and a branch. The stolen car was involved in another crash moments earlier.
Accused driver, a 20-year-old man, was on bail, on drugs and disqualified from driving. He and a 15-year-old passenger are both charged with car theft, but that young boy has already been bailed. A 21-year-old man is also back on our streets. He was let go without charge.
The reality, a high-intensity offender can commit an aggravated burglary, be arrested and walk free the same day. The police do their job and the courts undo it. You defend your home with force, you risk being charged. The system feels less designed to protect the family and more designed to protect the offender, from the consequences of his own actions. We have created a society that still expects men to protect, provide, sacrifice, and stand in front of danger, but in the same time, it tells them their strength is toxic, their authority is oppressive, their leadership is outdated, their discipline is abuse. So society wants the benefit of strong men without allowing strong men to exist. It wants protection without authority. It wants sacrifice without respect. It wants fathers removed from homes, then act shocked when boys start looking for fathers in the street. Then the same culture turns around and says their instincts to lead, protect, provide, and enforce order are toxic. Is there any wonder men are angry? Is there any wonder there is backlash? So what was so wrong with the rules we once knew? The values from the 50s and 60s when society at least understood structure, family, discipline, duty, and shame. The modern orthodoxy says everything was wrong. To even ask the question is to be branded a misogynist. The goalposts have moved so far that stating a simple truth, men and women are different and complementary, is treated like violence. But I'm going to state it anyway. Let us talk about the hypocrisy. A woman can say, I do not need a man, then a noise comes from the backyard at 2 a.m. Who does she wake up? Not equality, not theory, not a hashtag. She wakes the man. When the car breaks down on a dark highway, who does she call? When danger appears, who steps forward? When a nation goes to war, we don't send a gender-balanced philosophy, we send men. And here's the truth the modern mind struggles with. We are equal in value, but we are not identical in function, and that is okay. Equality of opportunity is noble. Equality of human worth is non-negotiable, but equality of function is a biological fantasy. A man offers protection, provision, leadership, structure, and decisive energy. A woman offers nurturing, emotional intelligence, intuition, softness, and the ability to turn a house into a home. When I say one of the most valuable places for a mother is with her children, that is not an insult to her intelligence. It is an acknowledgement of her irreplaceability. You cannot outsource the formation of a child's character to a daycare center more interested in identity politics than consequences, manners, courage, respect, and self-control. We've traded the home for the office, and somewhere in the exchange we have lost the child. The man must lead, not as a tyrant, not as a bully, but as the final point of responsibility. His wife respects the structure, and together they form a united front. That child feels secure because the home has order. That child understands hierarchy, respect, consequences, love, and duty. The Matrix does not want this. It wants you to be weak, confused, distracted, and alone. It wants to raise your children for you because a man who does not know his role is easy to control. A child who has never been disciplined will eventually be disciplined by the state, as a consumer, as a dependent, or as an inmate. So here's the reality. If we keep pretending this is normal, society is finished. Not because of one protest, not because of one drag queen, not because of one criminal, but because we have lost the courage to say the obvious. Children should be protected, criminals should be punished, parents should have authority, men should not be ashamed to be men, women should not be ashamed to be women, and families should not have to apologize for being normal. That is not hate, that is civilization. But the modern world has become so weak, so confused, and so addicted to lies that common sense now sounds extreme. And that is how you know we are in trouble. Because when truth becomes offensive, collapse is not coming. Collapse has already started. So people need to wake up. Stop clapping for madness. Stop apologizing for reality. Stop letting strangers raise your children. Stop letting weak people shame strong values, because if we do not change direction now, this society will not need enemies to destroy it. It will destroy itself. The Matrix is not some movie idea. This is the system teaching you to accept collapse and call it progress. Open your eyes, protect your family, stand on truth, and stop obeying the lie. If you're tired of the lie, hit subscribe, hit the bell. This is Urban Undertones. I'll see you on the next one.